Hello everyone, Super D6 Galaxy here again with another review, but this time it's a positive review of one of the best villains in Nintendo's lineup. But I'm not doing this alone. I actually have several people joining me on this one. First on the list is a good friend of mine. He is none other than Chad Peterson!
Hello everyone, I'm glad to be here for a positive review. Anyways, this topic is one that I've been wanting to discuss for a while. But first, let's introduce the others.
The king is here again. That's right, I am back once again. And this time, I have 3 more villainous colleagues to join this video. And no, they are not the villainous colleagues that you guys are used to. With that said, introduce yourselves, everyone. I am the Calamity's right hand, an emissary of fate itself. I am Astor, prophet of doom, and I joined this video because I wanted the audience to bask in my glorious presence.
Get over yourself! You came because the master made you! Anyways, I am the usurper King Zant, and let's just say I came here because I have a special someone to discuss. Nothing more and nothing less.
But first, I need to introduce myself as well. I am the Demon Lord 𝔬𝔭𝔭𝔫, but you may call me 𝔬𝔭𝔫 for short, but either way it's fine with me. Anyways, everyone is here? Good, let's get this done already.
Anyway, the title and thumbnail most likely gave it away, so let's discuss it. The topic of discussion is none other than the Demon King himself, Ganondorf! Now, you're probably wondering why we're making a review on this particular character. Well, the reason is that Ganondorf is a fantastic villain who gives Bowser a run for his money in multiple categories.
You bet he is. Not only that, but he is my favorite villain of all time. While he's not indeed D6's favorite villain ever, he's still up there due to how cool he is.
Indeed. Now, before we begin, we have 7 categories we will split this video into. 1. Design. 2. Atmosphere. 3. Performance. 4. Personality. 5. Threat level. 6. Boss fights. And 7. Memorability and appearances.
Indeed, and also Ollie, Astor, 𝔬𝔭𝔫𝔫, and Zant will help provide additional information whenever it is needed.
One last note, we are disqualifying the CGI, TV show, and Super Smash Bros. Versions of Ganondorf from this discussion, since the former 2 are way too easy to poke fun at. Plus, it would be like beating a dead horse, considering how many people on the internet made fun of it. And the latter is Sakurai second punching bag!
And I thought Sakurai hated Waluigi. Anyway, let us discuss why Ganondorf is one of the best Nintendo villains. Oh, and one other thing, there will be spoilers for Tears of the Kingdom, so if you haven't played the game, then don't watch this video if you care about spoilers.
Now, Ganondorf's designs have changed a lot over the years. All of them managed to stand out for the character in one way or another. And, unlike Bowser, a lot of them have something to stand out from each other.
Take, for example, his Tears of the Kingdom design, where his base form is that of a buff samurai. His second form is the glow-up version of Demise, and his final form is that of a dragon.
And I thought my final form was badass. Ganondorf is on the whole other level of cool. I mean, look at this. If you don't think this is cool, well, I have to disagree, even if I respect your opinion.
You fool! You also forgot his mummy form where he looks like a decayed zombie. That may sound lame, but he manages to make it scary and cool at the same time.
However, all of these designs have one thing in common. They are all badass. And keep in mind that this is just his most recent appearance.
Indeed. All of his forms fulfill their function in one way or another, whether it be the fact that his designs make him look menacing, cool, or sophisticated.
And sure, the Nintendo Land and Animal Crossing versions of him have goofy designs, but they aren't really meant to be seen as serious anyway, and the Animal Crossing version is not a villain, so that version is being disregarded.
With that said, let's move on to the next category, and this one will be even more expansive. The atmosphere with Ganondorf cannot be denied, especially since his appearances are usually accompanied by a sinister yet bombastic theme, and a dark background. Even his boss fights, which we will get to later, are filled with atmosphere.
Yes, indeed they are. Even my excellent theme songs are not as iconic and memorable as the Great One's theme songs. Here's a demonstration of his theme from Ocarina of Time. Now, the same applies to the music in the background. Almost all of the background music in this video is a theme song used for Ganondorf at one point or another.
Indeed, the dark backgrounds also fit well, showing off how intimidating he is. In fact, most of his appearances, he's either seen cloaked in shadows, appears during a storm, or in some kind of evil lair, whether it be one of his castles, inside a mountain, or in a system of underground caves. Ganondorf really knows how to keep the atmosphere up.
And I thought my origami castle was menacing. Ganondorf's various lairs gives me the chills, and that's saying something since I don't get scared easily.
My Palace of Twilight also has its moments, but my master simply outdoes my performance in terms of atmosphere.
Although, to be fair, having a good atmosphere is rather easy, even if the great Demon King Ganondorf pulls it off really well. So let's move on to the next section of this video.
I'll let these clips speak for themselves.
Do not look away. You witness a king's revival. And the birth of his new world.
Now, in case you didn't know, Ganondorf's voice actor is none other than Matthew Mercer, who is well known for his anime performances. And fun fact, this is the second time he played the character. The first time is in a web series called There Will Be Brawl, where he played the role of Ganondorf as one of the secondary villains of the story.
It just goes to show that Nintendo does know how to pick their actors, especially since this actor had experience in the role. Not only that, but he's widely regarded as one of, if not the best voiced character in the game, even if there are a few naysayers.
We would bring up his other appearances for this section, but so far this is the only game where he's fully voice acted. All his other appearances show his speech through text boxes, or they are versions of Ganon that we've disallowed. So let's move on.
This section is fairly complicated as there are 3 Ganondorfs to discuss in this section. the original Ganondorf, the Hyrule Warriors Ganondorf, and the Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf. Each version has different qualities to their personality.
Take, for instance, the original Ganondorf. He is shown to be for sure evil, but also honorable, and he does seem to care for his people.
The Hyrule Warriors version is definitely a villain. He has some politeness in him as he respects competence in both his allies and even his enemies. And he treats his men fairly well, even if he doesn't outright care for them.
The Tears of the Kingdom version, on the other hand, is just evil to the core, since he lacks all of the more noble traits that most of his other counterparts have.
But all these Ganondorfs have one thing in common. They're all intelligent and cunning. They also have all the traits needed for a villain to take the name the Demon King. And other traits that we'll get into in a bit still allow him to be complete badass.
To say that my master is a threat is a huge understatement!
If you thought Bowser was a threat, well, you've seen nothing yet. Ganondorf is usually shown to be a threat towards Hyrule, if not the world, and he always manages to bring the kingdom to its knees whenever he is around. However, sometimes he's a threat to entire worlds, including the time in Tears of the Kingdom when he attempted to cast the world into eternal night, even turning himself into a dragon to attempt this.
Not to mention, in Ocarina of Time, he was also a threat to the Sacred Realm. In A Link to the Past, he outright planned to conquer both the Kingdom of Hyrule and the Dark World, which is the corrupted Sacred Realm, mind you.
Seriously, this guy is threatening. Not to mention, in Tears of the Kingdom, he nearly killed Link, destroyed the Master Sword, and pushed Hyrule Castle out from under the ground in just one scene. In a weakened state.
Indeed. There's also the fact that the same Ganondorf owned the Sages of Hyrule, and he was only temporarily stopped when Rauru, who was the first king of Hyrule, sacrificed himself to seal Ganondorf away. Not to mention, in most of Link's fights with Ganondorf, he needed help to face the Demon King and win. Heck, Ganondorf even canonically killed the Ocarina of Time Link at the start of the Downfall timeline.
Some people have given the timeline hatred for this because it makes the Legend of Zelda timeline more complicated. I personally like it because it makes Ganondorf more intimidating since it shows that Link doesn't always win against him. Those scenarios honestly make a villain more intimidating, so I praise Nintendo for this choice. Now, let us move on to the next segment. The only problem with most of Ganondorf's boss fights is how most of them are actually pretty easy, with Dark Beast Ganon from Breath of the Wild in particular being anticlimactic and disappointing just like Super Dementio. Although this one could be considered even worse because you actively have to try and lose to this fight. But hey, it's way better than Shrouzer since Dark Beast Ganon has a superior atmosphere and he is legitimately scary.
That being said, all the other Ganondorf battles have some level of challenge to them, especially in Tears of the Kingdom, where if you don't know what to do, or if you're not a player who either cheats everything or has godlike skills, he'll put up a good fight if he doesn't destroy you in Phase 2 multiple times.
And I thought Phase 1 of my fight was tough. He makes me look like a normal boss fight.
That fight in Phase 2 is also similar to the fight against the Demon King Demise, except underground, and with a better design of the character. Oh, and Ganondorf is a much more memorable villain than Demise.
Indeed. There's also Calamity Ganon from Age of Calamity, which puts up a much better fight against the protagonists with boss music that is quite intense. If you don't believe me, well, here's your proof.
The Twilight Princess version may be easy, but it is memorable for sure. The music, the atmosphere, and the story behind the fight are epic, even if the fights themselves could have been harder.
To put it simply, the fights are either brutal or they are atmospheric, and going back to Tears of the Kingdom, it's a combination of both. One could argue that the final boss against Ganondorf from Tears of the Kingdom is even better than Dreamy Bowser from Mario and Luigi Dream Team. From how Ganondorf has a badass design, the fact that he turns into a massive serpentine dragon, and the music is epic.
Some people also love to praise his fight in Ocarina of Time for the atmosphere. Some people even call him the best final boss of all time. The only thing I have against the fight is that it is a little too easy, but hey, it's definitely not a joke, since he can leave you for dead if you're not careful. Aside from that, the fight against Ganon in Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece.
His Wind Waker fight is also decent, especially since he actually adjusts his strategy as the fight progresses, to the point where you have to allow Zelda to target you and use your shield to deflect the arrow back at Ganondorf.
Then there's the Link to the Past formula, which involves Ganon teleporting around the arena. This formula is used in Link to the Past, Four Swords Adventures, and Link Between Worlds. However, the latter technically is not Ganon, but rather Yuga.
So everyone who says he's overused is officially wrong, especially since another villain hijacked the plot from him!
Oh, and to follow up on Zan's point, there are roughly 21 Zelda games. Ganondorf only features the main villain in 9 of them. So a majority of the games either only have him in a minor role, just a boss fight, or he doesn't show up at all.
That's true, but let's move on before we get off topic. To say that Ganondorf's appearances are memorable is an understatement. In fact, pretty much every Ganondorf appearance automatically makes a game more memorable, especially since he doesn't appear all the time.
In fact, almost all of the most popular and iconic Zelda games feature Ganondorf as at least one of the main villains. The only exceptions are Skyward Sword and Majora's Mask.
Sure, there are a few gems that don't feature him, but then there are games like Triforce Heroes that feature a lame-as-hell villain that makes the people who say Ganondorf is overused say they would rather have Ganondorf as the villain. Fortunately, I will rip her soul out, so we never have to worry about that pathetic whelp again.
This, combined with the other qualities you've listed earlier in this review, only makes Ganondorf that much more impressive as a character.
Some people have argued that it comes at the cost of other secondary villains like myself. However, that's not entirely true. Onox, Varen, Twin Rover, myself, and Astor all managed to stand out all on their own in terms of actions and personality. So therefore, I don't understand the complaints, especially when Yuga in particular stole the plot from Ganon.
Similar to how several villains like myself stole the plot from Bowser, even if villains stealing the plot from Ganon doesn't happen as frequently.
So yeah, at this point we've said all that needs to be said, so let's get to the final verdict. So overall, Ganondorf is one of Nintendo's best video game villains of all time and probably one of the more intimidating video game villains compared to someone like Bowser. So for that, I give him a 9 out of 10. He's an amazing villain. How about you, Chad?
If you guys have seen my content, I think you know what score I'd give him. But if you don't know, I'd give him a 10 out of 10 since he's actually my favorite villain of all time, like I said before.
This was fun, and remember that if anyone needs my help, whether it be praising the almighty Demon King or other great villains or punishing bad media, I will be there. Until then, goodbye.
This has been fun indeed. I look forward to our future endeavors. Now I must go, for I fear that I must attempt to reclaim my rightful place as the ruler of the Twilight Realm.
Whatever. If bad media needs to be destroyed, I'll be there, but only for that, unless I have no choice. Farewell. That was fun! And before I go, episode 4 of the 𝔬𝔬𝔭𝔶𝔯𝔦𝔬𝔫 show is on the way, and episode 5 will feature Ganondorf himself as we rant on Activision Blizzard. Another episode I've planned will involve the top 15 best villain fights in video games. So, I hope you look forward to those episodes. Until then, see you next time!
Now that this is taken care of, I'll leave you to wrap things up, and who knows, maybe we can do something like this again. Also, chances are I might make a reaction to this video when it comes out, so yeah. Until then, see you next time.
Alright, now that this review is done, I also want to remind you all that I will be making more lyric videos so my old fans for mashups and lyrics can be satisfied. In fact, some of the lyric videos are already in production, so they should be here soon. Until then, see you in the next video.